So welcome to the podcast. We're here with Kevin. Kevin is a good friend of ours. He is a sober person in our community, in the Thousand Oaks community. We've worked alongside you now for 4 years now? 5 years?
5, probably.
He used to work at a treatment center called Oak Forest Recovery, and now you work at Aspen?
Yeah, Aspen Treatment Center.
So just, we've all worked together in the same Thousand Oaks Conejo Valley recovery community for a long time. And we really admire your program and your story and how you got here and, the hurdles you had to jump to get into sobriety. Because, sobriety and long-term sobriety is never easy. No. So it's always impressive when anybody can achieve it. So... so I just want to say thank you for coming out, man.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I'm driving all the way from Thousand Oaks. Are you living in Thousand Oaks now?
Oak Park, yeah.
Oak Park. Okay. Oak Park's a nice area.
Yeah.
I love Oak Park.
Yeah.
And so you were just saying you work at a sober living IOP right now.
Yep.
Did you help them start that?
The treatment center started in November. So they were just an outpatient.
Yeah.
So nobody lived in a sober living associated with them.
Okay.
And then I came on, I don't know, 3 months ago, and they got one house, and then they opened another house. So it's as you guys know, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
When you have a sober living with a bunch of newly sober people, it's a lot different than just having people come to groups,
What's the management structure you guys have at the sober living? Do you guys have a live-in, or do you guys pay for it?
So we have one house that has 6 people in it, and there's a live-in, Nicole, and that house is kind of our adults.
Is that a co-ed house?
Yes.
Okay.
But they're all of them are in their 40s who live there, and it's just running super smooth. They all have considerable amount of time sober, and it's just the house manager there. It's all good. And we have another house where it's youngsters and they're newly sober,
and it's a nightmare.
Yeah, and we have one live-in. I'm moving in another live-in, so there's
Jesus.
2 because it's how do you?
How do you handle both of them?
Yeah, or if she wants to go see her kids for 3 hours, it's just to have no one there for 3 hours is just
it's crazy.
Lord knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Because I go over there, they act crazy or try to fight each other right in front of me. I'm how do you guys act when I'm not here?
Right.
It's just terrifying thought.
Ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's insane. It's insane. These especially younger cats in early sobriety, they just so many, and you put them in sober living, there's so many issues with each other,
Yeah.
living in close quarters, it's just
Well, they're all rude.
the most nonsense.
They're all rude.
They're all disrespectful.
Yeah, of course.
But they all can't handle being disrespected. It's just a new,
They're just so privileged and think, dude. That's not typical
Tale as
white
old as
suburban
Yeah.
fucking mentality of
Dude, did you ever-
crazy entitlement, but also yo, I'm fucking hard. It's bro, you're
Yeah.
Thousand Oaks, dude. You're
exactly.
not.
Calm down. Just calm down. Were you at Oak Forest when that kid was there?
Yes.
Oh my God, that kid came to our house.
And
he was the most disrespectful person I ever had to deal with. And it was terrible. It was
and he was
horrible.
with us, and they wanted him to stay with us, and they were giving Clayton such a hard time about him. And I was just
Yeah.
if he wants to go, let go, because he is. This person manipulated our doctor into getting Suboxone. Just said, I am so deathly sick, but wasn't using opiates at all. So he was on so much Suboxone with us that he had a catheter put in because he could not urinate because he was so loaded at all times.
Oh my God.
He was walking around our treatment center with a piss bag taped to his leg. Just he was willing to take the lie that far.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Jesus
and then he went on after that to be I have severe stomach issues and medical issues in my stomach, and just dude.
He's a hypochondriac. He's so many things.
Such a sick kid, man.
Yeah.
Dude, there's just, you meet so many sick people. You come across, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to help sick people recover. And unfortunately, a lot of times, it isn't just the addiction that needs recovering or healing. It's like they have intense mental health issues.
For sure.
You know, and Robbie was one of those cases where it's like hypochondriac, like just lied so much about everything.
That was his biggest thing. Is he just
incapable of honesty.
No need to lie, but would lie anyways. Like just
pathological.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, dude, yeah. And then at the tail end of his stay, it was like I had multiple clients come up to me because if you've made it to a certain point in our house where it's like you've done the PHP IOP, right? You've been staying sober, you've done the steps. It's like we kind of give you the freedom to explore like what it's really going to be like when you do make that transition back out onto your own, right? So it's like some of these kids, they want to go to like parties, they want to go to bars, and it's like, look, if you think that you're capable to go to these places and stay sober, like I want you to be able to like figure that out, because at least you'll be in a safe place where it's like you're going to be held accountable, you're going to be able to like you know, if you need to start over, like you can start over here, and that's fine, you know. Like it's important to like, I think, like test those barriers before you just go home, you know what I mean? So it's like they would go to like some like you know, shows, or they would go to concerts or something like that. And then I had two people come up to me and they were like, yo, was taking shrooms, you know? And I was like, what are you doing, dude? And he was like, bro, it's a microdose. I go, you microdosed before like a show and you expect me to like believe this, that you weren't like getting loaded, you know what I mean? He was like, no, like blah, 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 I've been doing it. It's whatever. It's just blows my mind, you know, like that he was so willing, and he like had it in his head too. He's like, well, I've done the steps and I am a sponsor. It's like, bro, you have not done anything, unfortunately, you know.
And he was I mean, it's just like he was also 19, you know. And I you know, I have a 19-year-old kid in the sober living here, and it's just like it's a ticking time bomb. It's just like a matter of time before they relapse. And it's just like you put them with PHP, you put them with IOP, give them access to the best therapists, best psychologists, best psychiatrists in the world. But at the end of the day, they're just take them to meetings every day. But at the end of the day, they're a child. They're still like, their brain isn't formed and they're just not ready yet.
Yeah, sometimes your mission is just planting seeds. So when this kid, when his life gets so miserable 7 years from now or whenever, he's really going to know like what to do and where to come back to to like find the solution. But
and that, exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. Planting seeds.
When I was his age, the fact of the matter is I was so much worse than him.
Oh yeah.
Like a danger to everyone around me in a treatment center. I would, you know what I mean? That like, and sometimes it's hard for me to remember that because I'll just be like, this motherfucker. But like, if I really think about it, like when I was his age, like he did way better than I would have at his age. Like, I wouldn't have been able to stay in a program for 90 days. Zero chance. Zero chance. I would have AMA'd.
Yeah, because
tried to take a chick with me. Like,
right.
Like not even.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. But it gets hard. Sometimes I'm just like, this motherfucker. But I always try to remember, like, dude, how was I when I was this kid's age and like, strung out?
and that's the thing. It's like these kids are like forced into these programs, you know, like anything I'm forced into, I'm going to make it miserable for everyone around me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like,
that
was my mentality for, like, I got sent to Utah and that was what I did, you know, like I just made everybody's day living hell as often as I could for any reason I could figure out, you know, and I couldn't run away because I was in the middle of Utah. Right, and they basically had my guardianship, and I was like, "This sucks." But if my dad tried to do something like that with me, like after being 18, there was no shot I was staying.
Yeah,
you know, I had to come to that conclusion on my own of like, I need to do something. You know, like I got to do something different, and that's essentially what happened. Is I just asked someone to take me to a meeting, and then I did the steps. You know, like that. That's really all it took.
Yeah,
right. Like,
I mean, it's so much more powerful when you make the decision on your own to seek recovery or seek help, because it can't be anybody else's decision. It has to be your own. But you know, it was funny. I was talking to your dad at your baby shower last weekend, and he said that when they released you, he was talking to people who released you from treatment. He was talking to your treatment team, and they said, okay, look, he's going to come home and he's going to be really good for the first like few weeks. And he's going to be like, he's going to show his friends, like, look, I can hang out with you guys. I could party. I could do whatever. And I don't have to do that stuff. And I'm so strong. My ego's so huge. And then it's going to happen where it's going to be like, he's going to try and prove to his friends that he could just do a little and control it. And then it's just going to go back right to where it was. But just in, like, for the meantime, it's just going to be really good for like 2 or 3 weeks before it goes back to shit, you know? And then your dad was like, "That's exactly what happened. They called it. They called it. They called it like a,
yeah."
You know?
I don't even think it was a few weeks. I smoked spice like immediately.
Yeah.
I smoked. Yeah,
It wasn't visible for a few weeks.
it wasn't visible. And then I was like, "Dude, spice was so bad. It was like, why am I doing this? I should just smoke weed."
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
I hated smoking spice.
That's what happened. That's what happened after I got my DUI when I was 18. I tried to show my parents. I was like, I'm not going to smoke weed, blah, blah, blah. And a week went by. I was like, I need to smoke some spice. Like, let me try smoking some spice. It was so bad. It just gave me a headache.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what the
Made
fuck?
my back hurt really bad.
I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Spice, you know?
I tried that plan so many times with just doing like something other than like heroin,
Yeah.
like opiates or like smoking weed or just drinking or like. That's why, I don't know. For me, I'm such a believer in abstinence because as soon as I lose that date that I have of like being abstinent, all bets are off.
Yeah.
There's no limit to what the next, you know what I mean? It's just that's the only thing that is like tangible to hold on to.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like a date.
Which is why I think like abstinence is so important for alcoholics and addicts. You know, it can't just be a little because we take that little and we just run with it and just make it.
Normal people
snowballs.
don't have to figure out what can I do other than heroin.
Yeah.
That's not like a.
If there's any gray area, it's just everything becomes gray.
Normal people don't have to hit their knees every morning and pray not to do drugs and alcohol. You know it's bad when you have to find a God of your own understanding to help you not do drugs and alcohol every day.
That's tight.
But one of the things that like has been like kind of going on right now is people doing psychedelics in recovery. I don't know if you've heard about this.
I've heard a lot about it, and I've had people sit me down and like push me to get ketamine therapy in our sober living, and I'm just like,
oh, how do you handle that?
This specific case, I was just like, but you want me to let you do the substance you just abused for 3 months prior to coming here? Like that blew your whole life up, you know what I mean? And it's just tough for me because, and I do try to keep an open mind about things. Like I'll read research on things, but I just don't know personally like anyone super successful who's like, I owe this all to my ketamine therapy. Like that doesn't exist in my world, you know?
Yeah.
And
it's very interesting.
It is. It's super interesting. And it's like my my old roommate was like trying to venture down that path where he was like, that's how he had 5 years of sobriety in the rooms of AA, right? Completely absent. And then he was like, I'm going to try. Like he was convinced by other people in AA, just like, hey, do this like mushroom psilocybin trip.
This microdosing thing.
And not even a microdose. Just do this psilocybin trip in the with a shaman. You know, like in the Mojave Desert, it's gonna be sick. Like,
which sounds rad.
You know, it's gonna be.
It's
gonna be spiritual as fuck. Like, we're gonna be led by a shaman. Blah blah blah. Like, and he was at 5 years of sobriety, and he had felt like he had hit a spiritual ceiling that he couldn't break through, and which is just his alcoholism. And then. So he like went on this psilocybin trip, and he did the psilocybin, and then 2 weeks later he was on camping trip. He did more psilocybin, not with a shaman, and then a few weeks later he was like, with friends, and he's like, somebody passed him a joint, he hit the joint, and next thing you know, he's like full-blown alcoholic again. And it just created this snowball effect of drugs, alcohol, cocaine. Next thing I know, there's like next thing we know, there's like he's ordering hookers to the house, and there's like cocaine and ketamine and everything. It's just like it's crazy to see the insanity that goes through the alcoholic's mind trying to convince themselves that these substances are okay to take, when they're, they know what it's going to lead to.
Yeah, I mean, and it's especially in LA, I feel like it's become such a fad thing to like microdose things or ketamine therapy and all this.
Or go on an ayahuasca trip in the desert or whatever.
And for normal people, that might be a really rad experience.
Yeah.
But like for someone like me,
I think that stuff is mostly like for mental health, like PTSD and trauma and shit like that. I think that's what it's really supposed to be used for. Like, not, I'm going to do drugs, so I stop doing drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't really make sense to me.
It's a little paradoxical. It's let me use drugs to stop using drugs. It's not.
Yeah.
I've never seen it work. I just have not seen it work.
I mean, everybody just wants the easy, like, take something and I'm better. And like,
right.
Or like that drug Ibogaine. Have you heard of that?
Yes. And I mean, I know a bunch of dope fiends who went to Mexico and got Ibogaine and came back and did more dope.
Sure, yeah.
And did
Like,
more dope.
yeah.
We were talking with this girl Maddie on the podcast the other day, and she's like, "Oh yeah, my parents sent me down to Mexico to do Ibogaine, and then I came back and did more dope."
Yeah, it's
so it's like, there you go.
I mean, there is some rad research around it, and it can you can take it being completely dope sick, and it'll like physically like stop your withdrawals. It like rewires
that's
things.
like the worst part of doing heroin.
That's
too.
sick.
Yeah.
That's
actually
awesome.
tight.
But it's supposed to rewire everything, and like if you smoke cigarettes, you're not going to smoke cigarettes anymore. And I think there are people that like are big smokers, go do it, and then don't smoke cigarettes anymore. But like when you're a drug addict, it's like all your behaviors are linked to the substances.
Right.
It's not just like you can't just press a button and
yeah.
I don't know. I'm super huge on abstinence. I tried every other way, and it's the only thing that worked for me. And I try to remember that like maybe there are other things that will work, and like try not to be just so set in like the way that worked for me is the only way. But that gets hard too, because I see so many like all the other ways seem to fail all the time, and I'm just like, can we at least try the steps first?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was saying with this person who wanted to do ketamine therapy. I was like, can you just try doing the steps and sponsoring some women, and then we can maybe talk about ketamine therapy?
The thing is, it has to be the last house on the block, right? AA has to be the last house on the block. They have to try everything else first to come to that state of desperation, because that's the only way that it works for me.
Which is wild, because it's not
like,
that bad of a thing to do.
It's not. No, it's not.
It's
it's not bad at all. You do some writing, you talk with your sponsor, you talk with other people, you look at yourself, you like do some internal work. It's like,
we are like, I will live out of
go
my
to some
car
meetings. You find
before I go to a fucking meeting.
It's like, God forbid you find a community of like-minded people that are working to accomplish the same goal as you.
They're just like, hey,
God forbid.
They're just like, hey, I'm anti-steps, and it's like, just like trying to be like selfless and like live with acceptance and gratitude.
Favorite thing,
like
dude.
That's spiritual. Your anti-spiritual principles. It's just it's a wild thing to be against.
My favorite thing is people that say that, and then my response is, "Oh, like, have you done them?" And they're like, "Well, I did the first 3," and I'm like, "That's so." Okay, all right, for sure.
I'm like,
I don't even know what I'm supposed to say after that.
I'm
like, I think I just try to reply with like, "You'll be there one day." There's nothing else to really say. It's like, oh, you did the first 3. That,
It's just they have to reach this state of desperation. That's why it's called the gift of desperation. Because it's like, this is the last thing we want to freaking try. The last thing we want to do is, the steps. And it takes it's because it's a program of action. It's not much action. It's not like you have to do a lot. It's just action. And people don't want to. The thing with addicts and alcoholics is they're creatures of immediate gratification. They want a quick fix, and they want it yesterday. They don't want to have to work towards anything. They don't want to have to, do anything to accomplish their goals. They just want it now, and they want it to feel good while they're doing it.
When you're like, hey, 6 months from now, it's gonna all be worth it. It's very hard.
It's very hard
for them.
It's a hard thing to sell.
6 months.
Super fucking hard. It's a hard thing to sell. But Kevin, I want to hear about your story. I want to hear about, where you grew up, how you grew up, what your bottom was like, how you got here, how you got into treatment. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll just get into it. So I grew up in Simi Valley.
Oh, nice. Slimy Valley.
Yep.
Love it.
Born and raised in Simi. My parents went to Royal High School and like met in high school,
Okay.
So
That's sweet.
Generational
deep
Simi
roots.
Generational Simi Valley.
Yeah, and my parents are like very loving and like involved, and I don't even know if I've ever seen my mom and dad argue with each other. Like I come from like a very stable home, especially working in this field and hearing a lot of like people's stories, like they grow up like an addicted their parents, or you know what I mean. That's not my experience. I think if my parents were really fucked off, I don't think I would have survived that. I don't know, because I was already just such a mess with them being really involved and kind of just good family. I have a little sister. She's normie. Growing up, my dad was my wrestling coach. I wrestled from the time I was 5 years old to in college. I still did, but
Oh, dude, that's sick.
so I was like, that was my main focus a lot. Like in high school, I was usually ranked like top 10 in the country
Really?
in wrestling. Like I was legit at it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. That's sick.
Yeah. I won league as a freshman. Like I was being trained in that all the time. My dad would bring me out here to North Hollywood in this garage with all these Armenian dudes, like these Armenian world champion wrestlers, and they would just beat the fuck out of me.
Yeah, they don't fuck around.
Were you ever thinking about getting into like MMA or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of fast forward that. So wrestling is like my focus. Like even in high school, I'm smoking weed every day. It's wrestling season. I would quit for like 3 months and train and take it really seriously. I tore my MCL as a sophomore in high school, and I was in this brace, and my ear blew up, cauliflower ear, when I was like 14.
Okay.
And I've had plastic surgery on it. You can't even tell, or I would have one of those fucking ears.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish I had it. It's like a badge of honor.
Oh,
You have
yeah,
to get hit in the
100%.
ear like thousands of times to get it, you know?
Or
But my
it's like,
mom
it doesn't
freaked
come
out.
From, doesn't it come from like having your ear pressed up against the mat too? Like
anything that's
compressed,
like
rubbing it. And
yeah, I think it's like the blood vessels in your ear like rupture or something,
Yeah.
and it fills with blood, but then it like calcifies and hardens. So
Yeah.
it's like you can get it from just rubbing like anything. But so I got that, and then in high school I was just drinking, smoking weed like all the time. Like me and my friends would play Super Smash Brothers, and we would just play Super Smash Brothers, and just anytime you died, you take a shot.
Yeah.
Which like in 30 minutes, that's like 15 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Great game.
and we'd play that at 7 a.m. before school,
Yeah.
and then like
Yeah.
at lunch, I'd see my friend puking in the quad, and like,
nice.
not a lot of like
A real Simi Valley moment.
yeah, not a lot of consequences. Like a lot of funny stories, like my friend sneaking out of his house, he gets passed out, we draw dicks all over his face. He wakes up, drives home at like 3 a.m. and his dad's waiting for him in the living room.
And he just
Oh
has
my
He
God.
doesn't know he has dicks all over his face.
Oh
You know what I
my
mean?
God.
And he's just like trying to like act like cool, and his dad's just like, "What the fuck?" And he's just like, "What?" Like just
like, I don't know.
dicks coming and it was across his forehead, just dicks everywhere. Like stole his dad's car, drunk, and like
Oh boy.
so like my like high school years were a lot of like honestly a good time for the most part. I did blow, Xanax. Like senior year, I started like doing coke a lot, and it started to like progress a little bit, but still not even a ton of consequences. But I was mainly like a stoner at that point, and a drinker, and I was supposed to go wrestle in college in like Iowa, and I just refused to go when I
You're
turned
gonna go
18.
to your Isle Hawkeye?
Why? What made
Not
you?
a Hawkeyes. It was this like small like private school that was just
Okay.
gonna pay for everything.
Yeah.
What changed?
I feel like if I was sober, like wasn't drinking and using, like things would have been a lot different. But Wrestling is a fucking grind. Like, I was wrestling 125 pounds, weighing about 150 at that time. So you're like cutting
dropping
25
weight.
pounds
Jesus.
to like.
That's insane.
And if you really want to be competitive, like, you have to do that.
How would you
'Cause
drop
everyone
weight
does.
so quickly?
It's like,
I just shoot a bunch of heroin.
yeah, no, it's really like a water loading and then just dehydrating yourself. So like, and when you get that thirsty, like, the food doesn't even matter. Like, when you're like super dehydrated, like, it's so much more difficult than not eating for days. Like, it's like you start to just, but yeah, it's shitty. And I did it my whole life. And then, that was kind of my excuse as to why I was going to stop doing it. But in reality, like, I just wanted to fucking party. Like, that's really the, you know, and it was like really disappointing for my parents who had like put a lot into this. Both my dad's kids got full scholarships to college, and I just refused to go, basically. And my sister went to Memphis to play softball, and then came back after her freshman year and got pregnant and never went back. So like, my poor dad, you know, even his normie kid, like, blew their scholarship that he like. But so then at that time, I mean, I'm going to Moore Park College, like, never going to class, and start doing ecstasy, shrooms, like, all that sort of shit. And just a disaster, really, like, in my everything I did was unmanageable at that point. Like,
You were like 18 at that time, yeah?
yeah, like 18, 19. One day, and I'm willing to do almost anything at that point. I wouldn't do meth or like heroin. Like, that was beneath me, I thought, at that time. But pills were like fair game. And then I remember my buddy giving me a Roxy, like crushing it up, being like, try this, basically. And when I snorted that, I was like, these are the shit, you know? So from then on, it was just like a pretty downward spiral. I was going to the Valley and getting prescriptions of 120 Roxys and 60 Xanax every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Jesus.
And then I would pay my friends to get that same thing. This was like an 80, 90-year-old decrepit doctor. And you would walk in, just act like you knew him. Like, I walked in, my friend's like, dude, just pretend like you know him. Like, he doesn't keep records and shit because he's so fucking corrupt that, like, and he's so old, like, he doesn't remember anybody. And I just walked in, I'm like, Dr. Flores, how you been? And he's just like, my friend, like, how's it going? And you just give him $100 bill, and then he says, what do I prescribe you?
Wow.
And he has like limits on what he can give, but every kid in Simi was getting scripts from this guy, and it just like flooded with Roxy's and Xanax.
Where was this guy's office at?
It was like Panorama. So
it
like,
says in the back.
yeah. So yeah, you would take the 118. I don't know if that's the 405 or the 5.
So if it's Panorama City, I think it's a 405.
Yeah, 405, and then you'd
Right.
get off at like Sherman Way right there where the passport office is.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd go left, and then it was just like a mile that direction. It was right there on the right. Just this like little,
I used to go to high school right there.
yeah. And then
How long was that guy around?
a couple years probably.
Did he just retire, or?
I don't know if he died. I think they really got raided and busted eventually because
Yeah.
he was a doctor at this pain clinic, and the people who owned that pain clinic also owned a pharmacy.
Oh.
So they would fill all our scripts, like, because that was sometimes the sketchy part. Like, if you're an 18-year-old
And you're
you
going
walk
to
in
pick
with
up
that
Roxy.
amount of shit,
Yeah.
and like you just take it to like some pharmacists are just like,
They know what's up.
yeah,
Yeah, they're like, nah.
I don't
But
know.
that was like a big thing in Florida too. Was
I think Florida was even worse.
Florida was even worse. Those places were everywhere.
Pill
It was-
mills,
the
yeah.
pill mills, like it was huge. It was
Lines around corners at pharmacies to
like,
get their Roxys.
And it was
and
the same
shit.
thing. It was like that was like the model. They like owned the pharmacy. The doctors owned the pharmacy, and they just you know, it was crazy.
Crazy. That Purdue Pharma Oxy, like,
You know,
just wrecked a bunch of people, and I was one of them. And so then I'm selling them to. I'd make like $1,000 a week, and I was like, dude, I don't even need to go to school. Like, I'm rich.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I literally thought like I was just like, I can just get Wendy's whenever I want. I just play Super Smash Brothers and just smoke Roxy's off foil.
Oh, dude,
like,
toasted marshmallow. Those they tasted so good.
And I remember this girl that I had dated for like 3 years, and she's like going to like UCLA or some shit. But she's doing something like awesome, you know. And I remember her talking to me just like how like you need to go to school, like you need to. And I just remember being like, people work their entire lives to retire and do nothing, and I'm literally doing it right now. Why would like that was literally like I was like, why would
you
I
have a point?
You
have a point.
I'm just like, why would I like start this whole process of climbing a mountain that I feel like I've already reached the pinnacle of? And like I vividly remember that conversation. But
retire on $4,000 a month, maybe.
yeah.
That's $48,000 a year.
I had no concept of money. Like to me, like I literally thought I was rich.
Yeah. I mean, at that age, that's like
at that age, you're living.
That's rich.
You have no expenses. You're living at your parents' house. It's freaking great.
Yeah. I had no bills.
No bills.
I would work for my dad's shop a lot of times in this period too. Been fired like 12 times from my dad's work, but
he just keeps rehiring you.
Yeah.
It's like, what's gonna be different this time?
Yeah. I think
absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I think what would happen is they'd get really busy, and I just knew how to do everything there, and they'd be like, "Hey, we're gonna give you one more chance." You know what I mean? But he also probably just wanted to see me working. But so I have this huge habit. Rarely am dope sick. You know, I have a constant supply all the time. So. And then eventually this doctor, they get raided. I think the supply like dries up big time, you know? And then,
how old are you?
At this point, I'm maybe 19, 20.
When'd you graduate?
07.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is probably 08. Things start, like I start having to support this habit, which is like doing things that like I never would normally do. Like, I think the big red flag, like I started taking my mom's card and like pulling out a couple $100 out of her bank account, which was just like so out of my character that my mom is just like, they're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, that's crazy. Yeah. And I had no supply, like things were just going so bad, and that I just kind of had to come clean with what was going on with me. And I remember telling him, and I first got sent to Action Family Counseling in Santa Clarita, this like rehab. And at this time, like Curtis Gerard got sober, like my friend at the time, at like 18 years old, 19, and I'd see him riding his bike around town, and I'd be like, yo, we should hang out, but like I'm still using, so like I don't want to like tempt you. And he's just like, oh, like it literally doesn't even bother me anymore. And that concept, I was just like, what the fuck, you know? Like I almost didn't believe him.
Did you guys use together?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to witness like how bad his using was.
Yeah.
And then just to see the juxtaposition and that psychic change that the book talks about, being like, oh, I don't even care, like, you know, placed in a position of neutrality.
Yeah, it was wild. He went to treatment once, and like 90 days after he left treatment, he like smoked weed with some friends and hid it for like 2 years. But like and then came clean about it and changed his date, but he's been sober for like 13 years besides that one like secretive like marijuana slip, which is just wild. But that was like the first person who like got sober. I went to rehab for 12 days, had a friend come pick me up, left, told my parents I was fine. This is like a real manipulation that every parent falls for in the beginning, almost, it seems. And that addicts know. Like, parents don't want to believe that their kids are really sick or like have alcoholism. And I was able to flip that. Like, I'm not like these people. These people are like, you know what I mean? And every parent really wants to believe that. So it's a really good story to pitch, especially when it's like new and before you've really fucked up like 100 times, you know? So, I mean, and I was high right away, like day one leaving there. And then I got sent back there. And I went to that place like 5 or 6 times, like refusing to get a sponsor, never saying I'll stop drinking or smoking weed. I'm just here to get off oxys. And
how old were you at this point?
20.
Yeah.
Still super young.
Yeah.
I eventually get sent to Bakersfield Action because I kept fucking up at the Santa Clarita and Piru one so much that
Nice. I think that's where JC works. Action.
Yeah.
Is it like an adolescent? Kind
they have an adolescent and an adult
I
like
think
right
that's where
next
she
to each
works.
other.
I think
Yeah.
that's where she works. Yeah.
It was honestly a good rehab. And then I get sent up to the Bakersfield one. And, or actually before that, I had decided, like, hey, I'm going to get a sponsor and I'm really going to get sober and, like, not drink, not smoke. Like, I'm really going to try to do this thing. And, I really tried and failed. Then I remember that being like pretty like, I don't know, scary, I guess. I was like, wait, like I really can't fucking control this thing. Like I remember really like literally like starting to think like I might be fucked with this opiate addiction.
Yeah.
But and with me saying I'm really going to try, I still wasn't willing to do everything that people suggested, you know? Like I just was like super arrogant, entitled, like, you know, how people are. And I go to Bakersfield and I start putting some time together. Like they had a rad sober living up there. It's still there, run by the same guy. His name's Mark Smith. And it's like a private long street and then a cul-de-sac with like 13 houses and they're all sober livings.
Oh,
like
that's sick.
6 in each house.
Oh my god.
So it's like a little, and we were all young.
This was Bakersfield?
Yeah. And we were all young. And at that time, I think it was like, you know, $600 a month or something to live there. Like,
Yeah,
but,
it's dirt cheap. It's Bakersfield.
yeah, yeah. And there was 50 of us, like young, and we'd all go to Kern River, and like it was a rad community.
Yeah.
And I stayed sober, and I remember I got 90 days. I got my buddy to come up there, who we would like. He was the one who gave me my first Roxy, and then me and him would sell Roxys all over the place, and it was like we were just my little partner in crime. And we would mob around with my pet ferret I had. Like, sell
Those are
dope around
those
town.
are illegal in California.
Yeah, I've had multiples of them, and I would get them on Craigslist. I'd go to Idaho and get one.
What? Like my neighbor had 2 pet ferrets. Why are they illegal? Why are they like illegal?
I
animals?
heard something that like back in, I don't know, a really long time ago, they would like get in on farms and like kill all the chickens or steal something with farming. Like there was wild ferrets that were killing things so they made them illegal, but it just kind of never like, the ferret community isn't strong enough to like get it switched out here.
Right. The ferrets need to hire some lobbyists to go up to Sacramento and tell them to.
Yeah, it's basically a law they don't enforce. Like you could take them to the vet.
Yeah.
I would walk mine around the mall on a leash with me sometimes and stuff.
That's tight.
Yeah.
That's super sick.
It would be
Yeah.
funny if like a cop came up to you while you're selling Roxy's. Is like, hey, you know that ferret's illegal, right?
They are.
But you're like, I have like 500 Roxy's in your backseat.
Yeah, they are rad animals though. Like, I had one that would attack my like sister on command and shit. Like,
Were they vicious? Were they vicious?
no, it like goes for toes, but they'll kill mice and stuff. If you throw like mice in their cage, they are savages. But,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Dude, those
sick.
like long body animals, bro.
Yeah,
Ferrets, otters.
yeah.
Otters are vicious. Dude, I saw a crazy video last night of this guy. He heard something in a gutter or like in the drain, and he put his phone in there, and there's an otter fucking up a raccoon. And he drags him by the back of the neck. It's so funny. I was like, holy shit, like these cute little animals that like we think are just like, oh, you know, I'd love to have them, are vicious, bro.
Yeah,
They can be
otters,
so
otters are
vicious.
fucking. They have claws, dude.
Yeah.
One time I was in San Diego and I was swimming in La Jolla Cove, and I see this like sea lion sitting on a rock, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go sit on the rock with the sea lion.
Oh yeah, they're
And
gnarly
sea
too.
lions are fucking vicious. The sea lion did not like that. I sat on the rock, started barking at me immediately, and I was just like, oh shit, this thing's coming at me. I got off the rock and it's all rocky. And I can't really swim, and it's just coming at me. And it just pops its head up and it's barking at me. It's like
You see his teeth.
It's
Yeah.
like as close as Kevin is to me, and it was like, what the fuck?
They'll fucking bite
It
your
was the
ass.
scariest shit ever.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Fuck
This
that.
sea lion, dude.
And they'll seem like they're chill, but as soon as you like invade a personal space bubble of theirs, they'll just turn on you sometimes.
Yeah,
And you're
they
just
have
like,
to
"Fuck
be the
this
ones
guy."
that like come to you. You can't. Yeah.
And if you're in water, it's super scary because they'll see swimming around you and
Oh,
try
yeah,
to bite your ass. And
Dude,
shit.
they're way that's their territory. It's the water,
Yeah.
And they have those vicious teeth and claws that you don't see, and they're like little fins.
Yeah.
That's how they eat all the fish.
Yeah,
Freaking
so-
scary.
So I convinced Austin, my buddy, to come up there when I had 90 days. He gets 90 days sober. I have 6 months, and like, I got a sponsor. I'm doing the NA step working guide. I did steps 1, 2, and 3, and then I was just like, all right, well, I'm sober. Why even keep doing the steps? Like, I already accomplished this. I have 6 months. Life is good. There's no reason to even continue with this big workbook I'm doing. But I still went to meetings. I worked for the treatment center for like a year, and but when I had 6 months, Mark, the guy who ran the sober living, who was like, he did like 25 years in prison. He would get so upset and angry. And at this time, looking back, like at this time, he had like 2 years sober. And to us, it just seemed like he was like an expert on things. And like looking back, and then I think about when I had 2 years, I was like, dude, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And neither
No.
did he. You know what I mean? Like, but when you have like 2 years to someone who's brand new and can't get sober, you literally look like you're like
2
some
years
sort
is
of
feasible.
god.
That's like I could do that.
Yeah, you
That's
look like
yeah.
it's just like he was like a god, like you know. But
I
he
remember
like
when I had a year sober, I thought I was like, oh my god, this is so much time.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I'm the shit.
I'm
yeah.
the shit. I
Yeah.
know everything.
yeah, but he's still sober this day, and but he went on a hunting trip. Austin snuck in, my best friend snuck in one of the girls' houses, and got caught in there by like the staff girl, and she's like, oh, like you're on restriction, you got to give up your phone or whatever, and Austin was like, he had gotten a job and he was thinking about moving out anyways, and he's like, I'm just gonna leave. I was just like, okay, you know. And we went back, visited our parents like a couple weeks before this, and it was it was New Year's Eve, and his mom was all nervous, you know. She was like that because we were going out to our friend's house, and she's like nervous, and like we're gonna get fucked up, you know. And me and Austin are just fucking with her, kind of like, he's like, Mom, I'm only gonna do a little bit of crack, and you need to chill out, like, you know, like, but like just fucking with her, like, you know, we went there, we didn't get loaded, like, but we're just both like just fucking with his mom, and then we go back down to see me. Like, I would go visit my parents, he would visit his, and then we'd go back to Bakersfield, and we were driving back, and I didn't even put this together, but he's like tired driving, like sleepy at the wheel, and I literally didn't even realize like he was loaded, like I was just, which is kind of bizarre to me looking back, but he drops me off, he goes and gets a hotel, he's like in love with this girl,
Of course.
yeah,
That he met in
that
sober
he
living.
met at the sober living,
Sure.
and
So funny. Rehab relationships are so funny.
yeah, he like desperately wanted a girl for a while, and like this girl was cute, she was cool, and she liked him. So he goes to the hotel, and then that night she texts me and is saying that he won't respond, and she doesn't know like what hotel he went to. She was supposed to go like stay with him. And I like instantly knew that he was dead. Like it was because like I was like, there's no way, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just like, that's not good. Days go by, no one hears from him. So I'm driving around town looking for his car, and I called this hotel that night, and they said he's not there, which is like, and then 3 days later I found his car parked there, and I went, talked to him, said like he's been missing, his car's here, whatever, and the maintenance guy opened the door, and he was in there dead. He'd been in there for 3 days, and I found him.
So I have a question. What was it like to find your friend's dead body in a hotel room. Can you describe that experience? And then also, like, I hear that there's a very specific smell that's associated with like a rotting dead body or a corpse. Like, I'm sorry, like,
yeah. No, I'm good. I'm open to talk about anything.
Yeah.
There was no smell. I smelt nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like so air conditioned cold in there that it stopped it, because it was cold in that room. But I walked in. He was just laying face down. Like, it looked like he was like trying to crawl like towards phone or something. Like, it was pretty gnarly. And I like rushed in and like grabbed him, just stiff. You know what I mean? And I just knew instantly. I had already known. Like, I honestly knew he was dead like the first night. And this is like 2 days later. Like, it was weird. I can't really explain it, but I was like, that's not good.
I mean, it's just your intuition. You know, it's like he's not picking up. You know, he's doing right. Like,
he was at a hotel.
He was at a hotel.
Well, I knew he would never blow this chick off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, could he have fallen asleep? Like, I guess maybe. I knew 100% he had gotten loaded, you know, because he wasn't just going to fall asleep tired. And then once she said he was not answering, then I thought back to the car ride and I was like, damn, this fool was high already.
Yeah.
And we usually told each other everything, but I honestly think he didn't want to jeopardize my sobriety at that point, because I had 6 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was still kind of odd to me. He didn't just come clean about it, but I think he just didn't want me to fuck up, you know?
Yeah.
But so I sit down right there and I'm looking at him, and the face, like, it looks like zombie movies. Like, because normally right now, like, you don't see any veins like in your face, you know?
Yeah.
But you could see everyone.
Every
like,
single
like
vein.
hundreds of like veins, like,
And they're all like purple.
and blood pools like at the nose, and the like what's ever facing down, it's like the blood stops circulating and like pools.
Jesus.
Like, it was.
That must have been so scary to see.
It was just like, I don't know. I mean, I was kind of shocked by the whole thing. I was just like, this is fucked up. And his dad was on the way up there to look for him, so pulled into the parking lot 10 minutes after I found out.
What'd the maintenance guy say?
He just kind of like, they were just like, we're so sorry.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you know, kind of just one of those. And
Where's
I had to walk downstairs and tell his dad.
were you there when his dad saw him dead on the floor?
No, his dad asked me, should I go see him? And I said no. Like,
And he
I
didn't?
wanted to spare his dad that visual that I have of him. It wasn't cool, you know?
Yeah, of course.
And I didn't want his dad to see, like, have that.
You don't want to
visual
see
of
your
his
son dead in a hotel room.
No,
Yeah, dude. Like,
that's not what you want to see at all.
I'm not that type of, like, I wouldn't have asked. Like, I would have had to have seen. That's like the fucked up part. That's fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Damn.
Ugh.
It was tough. But his dad, like, reacted, like, he took it pretty hard, for sure. And then, like, after that, just from Austin's case, like, his parents got divorced pretty shortly after that. Mom went pretty, like, unhinged. Like, she started the Not One More Foundation. Austin's mom started that. And but she was like, she kind of lost her mind, like, a little bit. And they got divorced. Dad remarried. Dad ended up killing himself.
Oh my god.
Like, a year or two after that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, drinking, just like, mom lost her mind, dad killed himself, and I don't know where, but like, that whole family got destroyed by this event.
And know what the crazy thing is, like, when you're an addict and alcoholic, and I'm speaking to everybody who's like an addict and alcoholic, is we are just so selfish in our addiction and our disease, but we don't even know it. We think that we're only hurting ourselves and we're only affecting ourselves with our drinking and using, but you don't understand that, like, everything you do affects your family members, your friends, your coworkers, everyone around you is feeling.
You don't know how people are going to react.
Yeah.
You know?
And you really discover that in the steps, but then like, working in this field like we all do, you really get doses
Talking
of
to
it.
parents, bro.
Having to like deliver the news that the kid fucked up, the kid's missing,
Yeah.
and just like when a mom is just like heartbroken.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it takes it to another level. I have a real appreciation for the things I put my own parents through.
Yeah.
And
dude, I'm making amends every single day to my parents for
Yeah.
the shit I put them through. It was insane. It was wild.
yeah, anytime you can like help calm a mom down a little, or like let her know her kid's safe, and that shit really matters,
It does. It does. Dude. Yeah, like
100% it matters.
Yeah.
So after this situation with your friend, did you go back to sober living, or did you how did this affect you mentally moving forward in your recovery?
Yeah, I went back to sober living. I at that time was like in my head, I'm like, drugs are fucking lame. Like I had no desire to get loaded. Mm-hmm. I really hate when people like take tragedies and like then weaponize them as an excuse to like do drugs and drink. It's like my friend just died from drugs. Why would I go do drugs?
Yeah.
Like how would that be the solution to that problem? Yeah. And I stayed sober for 2 years, not doing steps, just off like, I guess will, But I had a really strong community of sober people. But my behaviors were still like whack. I would just, I wasn't acting like a sober guy at all,
No.
I had severe lack of integrity, and there's whatever. And all those behaviors just add up. And then some bad shit finally did happen. Some other shit that like wasn't cool, and I like lost a job or quit my job. And I was working at a program. And I was like, well, now I don't work at the program anymore. I might try drinking. Like, I'd never had any time sober.
Yeah.
I had 2 years. I drank, called this girl who I knew did heroin. I was on heroin. 6 hours. 2 years sober, drank some liquor, was on heroin immediately.
You're just like
an hour after my first drink was like back doing heroin.
Was that? So you had done heroin by that point, right?
Yeah. Well, once the oxy pills dried up, like I started smoking heroin.
Okay, gotcha.
And like then shooting heroin, and that was like a line I never thought I would cross, but crossed it like rather quickly.
Yeah. Why not? Because some other dope fiend is probably like, dude, you're wasting that.
Yeah.
Like that's usually how it goes. Is like someone's like, like you're kind of wasting that. Like you feel 10 times better with this much less.
Yeah. Exactly. And like, dude, that stuff's so expensive. $60 could last you a week. Like that's what someone really told me to like convince me. You know? And they were right. So boom. And my parents went on a cruise. I had 2 years sober. Was like their pride and joy. By the time they come back, I'm like full blown, just addicted to heroin again.
Oof.
So that was tough. I tried to go to, and I remember thinking like, I'm going to go on a little heroin run and I'll just go back to treatment and get sober. Like whatever, no big deal. Rehab isn't that bad. And then I would go to treatment and just AMA, like as soon as I started to kick. Like I forgot that it's actually really difficult to get sober and like get off heroin. Like I forgot that it's just not.
It's not a walk in the park.
Yeah, I just unleashed the obsession in my head like so nonchalantly, and like forgot that it was actually really gnarly to try to get sober, and it's not easy at all.
That's why they say like your addiction is doing push-ups in the parking lot,
that was my experience for sure. Like
we know subconsciously our addiction is like getting strong, is in the back of our head, just building and building, but
and so I went on kind of a sick one. I ended up back in Simi, just running around doing like low life, like homeless shit, getting kicked out of my parents' house, staying at friends who had parents who were just like, didn't give a fuck, basically. I remember getting kicked out and I'm walking. I don't have a cell phone. I don't have any money. And I'm strung out. And I'm just like, this is fucked. Like, what am I going to do? At this point, my parents were like, if you're loaded, like you do not live here. And they had pretty strong boundaries. Like I had a little sister, and which saved my life, honestly. Like my parents having those boundaries, like, and I did a lot of fucking off in the streets, like without contact with my family for years, which sucked for them. But if they would have kept letting me back home and like letting me live there and like do all that shit I was doing, I don't know if I ever would have like reached the place I needed to reach. But
were you homeless, like living out of your car homeless, or couch surfing homeless, or like in a tent on the street homeless?
I mean, the amount of times I slept outside is probably like 5 my whole life, you know? So this specific day I was walking down the street and I just happened to run into like one of my buddies who's a drug addict, and I've known him since like elementary school, literally just walking like randomly. And I'm like, dude, I just got kicked out. I got nowhere to go. And he's just like, no, it's not true. You live with me. Come on. And then that, like, I was homeless that day for like an hour.
Yeah.
And I just just walking, just dragging my feet. Poor me. My life is so hard. And I can't believe my parents did this to me.
Right.
And I'm just the biggest like asshole in the world. And but this guy let me live there, and I helped him sell drugs, and like we just like made it happen. It was still a pretty miserable fucking existence at that time. I would have friends who would come and try to get me to oftentimes like I would stay with these people and I would just sell their drugs for them. Like I would go do the transactions. I was just kind of like, you know, their buffer to like getting arrested basically.
Yeah.
And they would keep me high, and I would just live in these places. And after that, I mean, after a few years of this, I'm probably 25, 26, and just doing heroin and oxys and shitty life, shitty existence. I end up getting in VRC.
Ventura Recovery Center?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And I stayed there the first time like 9 months. I did like steps, all gnarly. In their like step study format, and I had a really good experience. Like I finished, I sponsored one guy, he relapsed, and then I never sponsored anyone again. But I got a lot of relief from that process, and like my obsession was removed for the first time since that like 2 years. I actually learned like what the 12 steps are, and that like God was a part of sobriety. Like I never even like realized that before. And but I went out, I think that time, I don't know what it was, but I mean, I wasn't doing anything I was supposed to be doing. I wasn't praying, I wasn't sponsoring, and I got loaded, you know, again. And I went back to VRC, stayed there for another long stint, and I got like a year. Did steps, didn't really sponsor anyone again, drifted away, was working, going to school, and got loaded. And then I went on like a pretty gnarly like 3-year run that was just like my life. I just sold drugs all the time. I would break into like Targets and Best Buys at night and like steal MacBook Pros, and like I was just and I would get arrested, and I would have warrants all the time, and I wouldn't go to court.
This was in Simi?
Yeah, this was in. I've spent most of my time in the Valley at
How
this point.
are you bringing it into Best Buy?
You just crowbar a door. The alarms do go off.
Yeah. So you got,
just
it's like a heist. You're like, we got 2 minutes, go.
It's literally exactly like that.
Yeah.
You know, like we know, like, hey, like we like we would go in the store before, know exactly where they were. Target started locking them up in the back after we were doing this.
Where did Best Buy keep the laptops?
Well, you would like just walk through the store and like try to see where they were, you know, and usually they'd be locked up in like a glass thing,
like underneath the displays.
Yeah. Where they open it, but you just smash, and like we would do all kinds of creep. We would go to this Armenian pawn shop guy, and he would basically tell us like what he wants, and we would just go steal it.
Yeah.
And, and then like he would like, you know, and so he'd do no paperwork like that we pawned it or anything, and he'd be like, I want this $8,000 projector. That's, you know what I mean? So like just like this crazy shit.
You gotta love the Armenians.
Yeah. And so like, and I would sell drugs, and I made like money, and I would stay in like, and I would always be dating some like drug addict chick who was like rolling around with me, and I would just sell dope all day. And I just stayed high. Like I had an endless supply of drugs and just committed crimes all the time. And I mean, at this point too, my dad would message me all the time like, hey, Kevin. And I just wouldn't respond for like years. Really sad. And he would do it like once a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You just say, hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He probably just wants to make sure you're still alive.
Yeah.
Jesus.
or that
Just
you're
like
yeah.
he's just trying to reach me on any level, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And then I get arrested. Let's see, the first time I really got honey dicked. Honey potted.
What is
Same thing.
She's honey dicking us.
Yeah, yeah.
You've
What
never
it-
seen that? You've never seen
No,
that movie?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. I
What's
got
that
honey
from?
dicked by
It's
the.
that movie with Seth Rogen and James Franco.
Oh, Pineapple Express.
No. With they go to North Korea.
Oh, the dictator.
No,
Or no.
The dictators with Sacha Baron Cohen.
The interview.
The interview.
Yes. She's
Yeah.
honey dicking us.
Yeah, I got honey dicked, dude.
What
And,
is what is honey dicked?
So I knew I was being followed by like police and shit.
Yeah.
Not even on some tweaker shit. I would be with like my buddy who's always tweaking. He'd be like, dude, these fucking Tahoes are following us. I'd be like, bro, you're tripping. But like I would go in hotels and like a guy with a flannel and a beard would like be like walking in the Grand Vista Hotel at like 2 a.m. like looking back to see what room. I was weird shit. And I was like kind of sus, but I mean, I was like, if they wanted me, they could arrest me. So I just wouldn't trip on it. I would just be like, it is what it is. And
It happens when it happens type thing.
I was real cautious with like who I sold to. But this girl hit me up. She's like, hey, I have $100 or I have like $600 worth of heroin and I just don't really want it. Do you want it for like $100? And I was just like, what the fuck? Like
Too good
someone
to be
trying
true.
to rob me or something? But I was like, I'll go check it out, whatever. And I go over there and she like gives it to me, like a bunch of it for like nothing, and like has Xanax, and we like get loaded together and like fuck and like hang out. And then she starts buying off me after that.
Yeah.
And she was a straight informant for the police. Like,
Oh, wow.
And I started hanging out with her and stuff. And then one day I could tell like she started to like me, or like I was cool to her, you know. And I would like whatever. I was like, I would just fuck around all the time. And like I could tell she's like, I have to tell you something. And I was like, okay. And she's like, my aunt is a sheriff or something like that, and they're like trying to get you. And I was like, I mean, I know they're trying to get me, like and she says that they know you sell drugs. I was like, I know they know, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it's
everyone.
Tell me something I don't know, please.
But it was like, I remember just being weird, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, she like tried to warn me, or like
Yeah.
in a weird, like, she had some like conscience about like really fucking me over. Or
Yeah.
like it was some weird and I honestly hold no like animosity towards her at all. Like she was like a young like girl from Moore Park who got arrested. She's probably terrified she's gonna have to kick a massive
And they
opiate
were like-
addiction in a jail cell, and you know what I mean? Like I literally like I get it. Like I'd rather
you-
have me go do that than her.
Yeah.
Did you ever fuck around with this kid who also grew up in Simi Valley? His name was Chase Chrisman.
Yes.
You
yeah.
saw-
I know Chase. Yeah, I saw the news
you see
thing.
what happened?
Yeah, I did.
That's
yeah, I know
crazy.
Chase like pretty, not well, but like if we saw each other, we're definitely gonna like talk to each other and be
Yeah.
like, how
Yeah,
you
yeah.
doing? And he worked at OFR for like a week when I was there.
Because
He
he was getting
did?
loaded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was-
but he was
yeah.
getting loaded. Yeah,
Was
you
it-
don't remember that?
While he was at our
no,
house?
no. Well, way before that.
Yeah, he
Wait,
went.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he went upstairs and took a nap on a bed like his second day at work, just loaded.
Jesus. That's crazy.
But I liked. I always liked Chase.
He's a cool dude when he's sober.
Like,
Like
that
he's-
story and reading what happened, like really like that. It affected me. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
like this guy really like just took it to the bitter ends. You
Yeah.
know, like he must have just been in a mess psychosis, or like I don't know. I'm
What
like,
what happened with him again?
dude.
so like the stories I kind of read, it's like he went there to like he owed these people money. I think it was
Yeah.
2 dudes and a chick.
Yeah.
For
But it was like
dope.
300 or like $500. Some
Nothing.
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 I would have given it to him. You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
I mean? And he goes in there and I think tried to rob them. And they must have like told him to fuck off. Something happened, but he ended up shooting both of the guys. But the girl got like stabbed in her face and head like 27 times
It's
by him.
in the
Fucking
face and
crazy.
head?
Yeah,
Like,
dude, it's
by
fucked
him.
up.
Jesus
Like he,
Christ.
yeah, like he like psychotically stabbed a girl. In
It
the
is
fucking
fucked up.
face.
Yeah.
which
Oh
is
my
like,
God.
there's some people I meet or like deal with it. I'm like, this guy seems like he could be capable of some like really fucked up things. I never got that vibe from Chase.
No,
You know
even
what I
behind
mean?
all the face tattoos.
Yeah. Those are usually like in my like scary stickers to make people think you're scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But-
dude,
Dude.
you know.
And he was
That's
with another
crazy.
person.
So I was because I knew he grew up in Simi as well, and he would
Yeah.
like operate out there. So I'm like, you guys must have. Come
Yeah, we would
across
run into each other, never using. Like, I only know Chase from, I think I'm older than him, maybe. Because I only know him from, like, the rooms and, like, visions.
Okay.
And, like, we're both being from Simi. Like, we'd have mutual friends. So when I'd see him, I'd talk to him and stuff. But, yeah, it's a really sad story.
Yeah,
like, his
dude.
life's over.
100%.
100%.
Do they have the death penalty in Arizona?
I think so. They're pretty gnarly.
He's
out
gonna get it.
I
He'll get that shit.
I feel bad for his parents, dude. I feel so bad for his
Terrible.
parents. Terrible.
But was he at your guys' houses?
He was at
A
our
while.
house for a while, like 6 months or something,
Great client.
Yeah.
Dude, like
until he wasn't.
When he's good,
But then he fucked up for a day.
he's
and it was-
very good. Often he's usually dishonest about
Yeah.
his
Oh,
sobriety.
he's pathological
you know?
liar.
Yeah. And he'll
Pathological.
share like he's just having like the biggest spiritual experience of his life while
Dude,
like
his shares
smoking
were
heroin
so
10
good
minutes
and
before
so
it.
fucking crazy. Like he knew the book like the back of his hand. But the thing with him is he was such a manipulator. He was
Yeah.
like he knew how to manipulate
a room full of people.
a room full of people. He knew how to get people on his side, pull the heartstrings, pull the emotional strings,
Yeah.
and just freaking manipulate.
Yeah, when anyone's relapsed like 30 times, like I did in my life, and they're like 2 weeks sober and just sharing like they're fucking Jesus at the pulpit. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is a little alarming. It's
Yeah.
not supposed like
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be this great yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't care how good your pink cloud
Yeah,
is.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But that's the thing. It's like he had done it so many times. He knew what he was talking about. He knew what he was saying.
Yeah.
Right. And then you kind of go back to think it's like you have those two different types of clients in that same headspace of like you're probably going to relapse, which is you have who we were talking about earlier, right? Which is the kid who just like lies, bullshits, doesn't go to meetings, doesn't give a fuck, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the guy who wants you to believe that everything's going right. That look at me. I'm doing all the steps, which he was. Like you would see him sitting at the table, doing the writing, doing everything he needed to be doing, but still like I don't think that this is like real.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like this isn't a real like like no matter how much he's going to get it this time, right? Like
Yeah.
there's still no matter how badly we want to think that about people, it's like there's still something inside of us like that intuition that's like this doesn't feel authentic. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like you're really like you're doing this so I see you doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing this so people think like they're going to call your parents and be like, "Dude, he's doing so well.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's just sat down doing all the work, sharing at meetings, trying to sponsor guys, helping us around the house." Right? Like he
Yeah.
knows that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's like his goal.
Yeah.
So it's like it's very interesting to think like that kid goes from like prison and running around to like at the same time while he's doing all that knows like the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, because you do have to know it in order to bullshit.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what it is that he's supposed to be doing, and just like it's not enough. It's very weird to me, that type of like alcoholic addict.
It's crazy.
It's got to be very miserable.
Yeah. I mean, what they say, a head full of AA and a belly full of beers makes for a bad.
Yeah, but but that's what I'm saying. It's like not to him, like it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean, right? Like anybody else, it'd be miserable to go get loaded after like having X amount of time sober, after knowing the program, after like doing the work and making the amends. It's like there's so much shame and guilt, like especially when you get to that point in the steps, because like I watched him make amends to people,
Yeah.
family, friends, all that, and like to go from that and then get low, like there has to be so much shame behind that. But I think that he was a sociopath.
Yeah. You think so?
100%.
Oh yeah.
100% sociopath.
Yeah. I mean, I think in order to like commit the crimes he did, he had to be mentally unwell. Like a normal person who is all right in the head doesn't do that to another person.
Meth psychosis
Yeah.
or not,
Yeah.
And even if he was, I mean, they went to like great lengths to like cover it up afterwards. So
Yeah.
he
Well,
couldn't,
that's how he got caught. He
couldn't have
tried to-
been that crazy out of his mind. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
He tried to go burn down the place, right? That's
yeah,
the thing. Is he like, yeah, it's crazy.
gnarly. I mean, for a couple $100.
Yeah.
Yeah, over a few $100s, the rest of your life is gone.
And
you know?
3 other people's lives.
3 other people's lives.
And
Completely.
all their family members,
And all-
whoever,
yeah.
all those people. It's just,
Yeah.
very, very, very sad story.
It's
but
very super sad.
yeah, so that girl tells me that, and I'm like, and things are like, and I've already been arrested a couple times, like before this. Like I got arrested one day, like they had a tracker on my car. And I was just like, how does this fucking one cop keep finding me? His name was Detective Nichols, and he was just like pop up, and I'm just like, dude, how in the fuck? Like every time I would come back from the valley in to see me, like they would like get me,
Detective Nichols.
Detective Nichols. This guy actually like saved me, but and
I feel like that's illegal to put a tracker on your car. That's
Not
crazy.
unless you got a warrant.
they had to because they had like I got my discovery packet after all this.
Yeah.
They had me at like so many, like they were following me for a long time.
They were building a case.
Yeah, I got accused allegedly of a residential burglary at one point, and they were like tailing me that night. So
Yeah.
they had record of me being at this property.
Yeah.
Like in a separate investigation.
Yeah.
Just weird shit. So I got arrested for the residential. That's where they hemmed me up the one time. And that day, like, so I was in jail one time, so sick. And I saw a kid I went to high school with, and he's black. I'm white. We're not supposed to even like talk to each other. But like I've known him since we were kids. I'm like, what's up, dude? His name's Red. And I'm like, dude, I'm so sick. Like, please. Like, help me. I know he's like a real deal dope fiend, and he's like, who's gonna help me then, like, and he had like pins like in the calluses of his palm with like heroin baggies attached to them, like safety pins.
Wow.
Like, and he pulls one out and gives me like a piece of heroin, and I was like, bro, like forever, if you're dope sick, like hit me up and I will help you for this, and but we got in trouble for even talking to each other by like these Mexican gang members in there. Like, you're not even supposed, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was just like, bro, fuck you guys.
Politics,
like, I've known
yeah.
the kid since he was a kid,
Yeah.
And so he would hit, and he took advantage of that promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forever after that, he'd be like, dude, I'm stranded. I'm sick. I got nothing. Like, and I would always I would drive 30 fucking miles to give him free drugs. Like, just to like. He fucking saved me that day. Like, I was down bad in there, bro. So, and I would put money on his girlfriend's books in jail for him. Like, if I could do it, I would help him out. And I met him one day to give him free drugs. I had like nothing on me. I had like a 20. That's it. Mm-hmm. And I was just driving to give it to Red and at Taco Bell. And I pull up, and then fucking cars, undercovers everywhere, mob us. And but I had like nothing. And Detective Nichols would be searching my car with his little goons, and he'd be like, "Where's your stash?" And I'd be like, "Oh, bad timing, Nichols. Too bad." Like, fucking, you know what I mean?
Sorry, Nichols.
Yeah, just being a little fucker to him,
Yeah.
which was not a good idea. Like,
Right.
I became like his enemy number one, And
I think you guys knew each other's in first name.
yeah, I mean, he's jammed me up like 5 times, like, and he was the head of the like narc gang unit for like the Moore Park Sheriff's Department, and I think. And so I'm in there that day, and he's like got me in the office, and he wants me to be like an informant for him. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, well, will you let me out right now? And we're like trying to broker this like deal that I know I'm never gonna tell on anybody. Like, I'm just trying to get out. Like, I'm about to get sick. Like, we're like 2 hours away from like severe illness at this point.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, this residential I can't make go away. Like, it was a different charge, but he's like, this sales case I have you on. So whatever, I do get out in like 4 days or something, 3 days, and then he calls me to like want me to start working for him, I guess, or I don't know. And I'm like, not answer. I answer this number, I don't know, and he's like, it's Detective Nichols. Like, you were supposed to call me right when you got out, like, but, and I'm just like, well, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I've actually changed my mind. I'm not gonna do it. And just another like fuck you to him, and he's just probably just. So a few days go by, they're trying to get me again. Like, he's obviously super pissed now.
Yeah.
Like, they had me and they let me out, and I'm just like, fuck off. So
I mean, they could just go so easily go pick you up again.
Yeah, but the problem is I was always in LA County.
Okay.
They needed me to come back over
Okay,
into
gotcha.
Ventura
Yeah.
County, I think, because they would never come get me in LA County.
Yeah.
And
Because in LA, there's probably like bigger fish to fry. Like some
There's-
LA unit
well,
isn't gonna
it's
just like
jurisdiction, I think.
no, but they could even they could ask, you know.
I'm sure they could, but LA has way bigger things to deal with
Yeah.
than like me selling heroin.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like there's like actual
Yeah.
people getting murdered and like
Yeah.
Bloods
Yeah.
and Crips and fucking and so I go over there. I go to meet this girl, the honey dicker. She's like, I want like an ounce, whatever. And I was down bad at this point, and I didn't like this girl anymore. Like we got in an argument, and like before that, and I was like, dude, I'm just gonna roll up, take all her money, give her this cigarette pack with like shit wrapped in foil in it, and just drive off and take all her money. Like that was also a thing I would do, is rob everyone. And and I pull up to do this. I was just gonna hand her the pack, take her money, and just drive off and go get real drugs. And I pull into the parking lot, and she's like, "Honey, like, where are you? Like, I need to hurry, like, all that shit." And I lag because I'm a drug dealer. And I pull in, and she's not even there, and just cops everywhere. And I'm just like, fuck, like. And, but again, I didn't. Again, I didn't have drugs. Like I had like 4 syringes filled with stuff, and that's it. Like there was no big stash. I didn't have the amount I was supposed to be selling. Because I was gonna rob this girl.
Yeah.
And he's like searching frantically for it, you know what I mean? And I'm just talking shit again, like so I go, he charged me with another crime for sale of a controlled substance in lieu of, which means you try to sell like fake drugs or like something else. And then so I got possession for sales, distribution or transporting. If you drive drugs like a block, it's like transporting. If you transport it like across the street, they can just give you that charge for like anything. So I had a case like that. I bailed out, went to a program, left the program, relapsed. So I'm on bail for a sales case, and I get another possession for sales, transporting, and this other charge.
Damn.
I have like 8 felonies. And so I'm in there, I'm in jail. Oh no, this is the time I bailed out. I got out after this big one again. And
You went to jail so many times.
a bunch of times.
So many times.
I have a bunch of mugshots on my phone. And
That's crazy.
so I got out again.
Send that to us. We're gonna throw that up on the
I
on
will.
the, on the pod.
Yeah, I will.
On the video.
So I got out again. And this time I'm like absconding from bail. I got my poor parents to bail me out on my first big case, and I went to a program, and I left the program after 7 days, you know, and I'm back out getting or no, it was more than that. It was like a few weeks, but in the program, I'm doing Kratom. I'm selling Kratom in my room to all the clients for $5. Like I'm just, had no shot.
Yeah.
You know? Have myself convinced Kratom is like an all natural herbal remedy, and it's not the same. I link up back with this girl, and I was down so bad at this time. This day that I got arrested, my arms and hands are swelling up from cellulitis. Like I have a blood infection from shooting dope, and I can't barely turn my steering wheel. Like I'm like miserable. With all the drugs in the world, I'm like miserable, dude. This is just such a bad day, and I'm just like, I'm like reaching my limit of like my body being able to handle like what I've been doing. And I'm pumping gas at a gas station. A cop drives by. It's like 1 a.m. and see me. I'm like, fuck. And I get in the car, which is a dope Camaro that I bought with fraud. And
With fraud.
yeah, I just got pay stub generators. Like, and I would just make fake pay stubs in my name. Like I make like 12 grand a month. Like finance me this car. And these just like shady valley car dealers, they just want the sale. They don't give a fuck. Like as long as there's documents there, like they knew it was.
As long as the bank is going to give them the money.
Yeah. So I'm in this dope car, and I've been in 3 high-speed pursuits with the police before this arrest. I've just left those parts out because I feel like I'm just going on and on. But and I pull out, and he had just drove past, parked in the dark, and was just waiting for me. He pulls me over. He's like, "Kevin, get out of the car. Did you steal this car?" And he knew I had warrants. I have this rock of meth like this big
Wow.
underneath my driver's seat. And my girlfriend at the time has like a rock of heroin like this big, probably like in her bra. And I'm like, give me that heroin, give me it. Because I'm like, I gotta get this in my asshole because I'm about to go away for like a long time. And it would literally be like going in there with gold. Like I'd be taken care of for just the next 6 months off of that rock. Just trading it for things, like whatever. I would be a god walking in there with that. And she's like, no, fuck you. And I'm just like, this mother. I was like, give it to me. You know what I mean? She doesn't give it to me, and I was like, all right, well, I got to get this meth in. It's in like an open Riggs bag. Like, it's not even a sealable bag. It's like, there's no way. There's no way I'm getting it. And like, it's just not even possible. But I put it in my pants. He immediately cuffs me and puts me in the back of the car and is talking to the girl. I see her take the heroin out of her like bra and hand it to the cop from like being in the back of the car. And I'm just like, this motherfucking bitch, you know, like just so pissed. Like that one had a like sealable thing. Like I could, and I was just like,
I could have shoved that up my ass easily.
Exactly. Because I mean, I had gone to jail before with 9 grams of heroin in my ass and got out with heroin left.
So when you go to jail, when you go to jail with heroin in your ass, when they intake you, do they not take you in that room and like make you bend over and cough?
Oh no, they do. That time where I had like 9 grams up there, there were these 2 huge black cops. Like they looked like just like bodybuilders. Like they're just monsters. Yeah. They already like hate me too. And they both of them were like bent down like this far from my asshole as I'm squatting and coughing. But if you jam that shit far enough up there, like it ain't doing nothing, you know? And you're trying to cough like trying to do like the weakest cough you can. But they were like inspecting me like crazy and didn't see it. Like, so
how do you get it out of that?
You push.
That's the tough part is I was in there dope sick and couldn't get it out. There's nothing like having the answer inside of your asshole and not being able to get it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
boy.
I'm sick and like
you're like, oh please, and you're probably constipated.
And it's making you want or like diarrhea, but like you know what I mean? And then I later found out from like an older Mexican guy in jail how to do like you need to like soap up your fingers and like go in and like lube up your ass and shit to have it come out. But
the older Mexicans,
at that time
they
I
always
had
have the answer.
Yeah, at that time I was just in the infant stages of my keystering career, so I didn't
keystering.
So
I like the name for it.
Yeah, but so I have all this meth in my pants. It's like an avalanche goes off. Like I just start eating it in the back of the cop car and shit, and I'm just fucking gone. You know, he notices my hands and arms and takes me to the hospital. The cop did. Which might have like saved my life. If he just took me to jail, I was in really bad shape. Like my blood, I had this blood infection that was like, if it gets in your heart, like you can die. People die from it. It makes sense because I felt terrible. Like I was so sick, no matter how many drugs I did. And he took me to the hospital. He's being a dick to me, but the nurses were cool and they're giving me juices and stuff. And then I went to jail. There was meth all over the back of the car. He was pissed about it. And I was just kind of like, I don't know. And
this was here when I got here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was just everywhere. And I was eating it. So I was in there just crazy. Kyle Montoya.
Yeah.
I go into a cell. Kyle's like my cousin. Like not an actual cousin, but our dads have been friends since they were 14. Like we've known each other forever. Like we were doing drugs, running around the streets a lot together. Yeah. And he got arrested the night before me for trying to break into a house because he said they owed him $20. And he like robbed everything from them before that. Like he's just being a crazy person. He made me take him back there like 4 times. Like he's an idiot. They called the cops. He got arrested. And I go into the cell. My cellmate's at court. I go up top and I just lay down and pass out. I wake up like 4 hours later, sit up, and Kyle Montoya's in the cell with me. Like we were in the cell for 4 hours together, not even realizing that we were cellmates. And he's just like, "What's up?" Like, and I was like, "Please tell me you have heroin." He's like, "I don't, but I have meth." So Kyle Montoya's butt meth. He like starts raking it out and putting lines on the jail cell table. And I
Nice.
snort a line, go to court. The lady's
Line of
like,
some poo-poo meth.
the lady's
Fresh out
basically
the
like,
butthole.
yeah, she's
Fresh
like,
out the keister.
she's like trying to like say that they're trying to give me 8 years. And I was just like, I remember being like, wait, what? Like, I'm used to like doing a couple weeks. Like, do I have to, I might have to do like 60 days. This, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hearing 8 years, I was like, I'm in big fucking trouble here.
Yeah.
I go back to the cell and I'm all tweaked out, which probably didn't help the news.
No.
Like,
No.
I'm just tripping. And so I go back. Kyle gets moved to a different section. He leaves me a little meth. I spill it all. And that's when I was trying to like get it all together to like use it. And there's just pubes in my hands and just like, and
You still snorted it, didn't you?
no. I just remember being like, my life fucking sucks right now so bad.
Yeah.
And I flushed it all, and I've never gotten high since. That was like that pube meth was my last like surrender, where I'm just like I'm just done. You know what I mean? I'm just like I'm just done.
It just hit you in that moment, huh?
Yeah, I ended up getting a year. I mean, one story. The first 90 days, I was crazy. Like, I didn't think I should get sober. I was just like, I have to figure out how to commit crimes better. That's really what I thought. And then with like 2 months left to go, I had to like remove someone from our section. I usually don't even share this, but I fucked somebody up in there really bad. And they pull everyone out, and my hand was fucked up from it. So they like examine your hands, and I'm in this little back room. They keep you in there for hours, just in boxers, and they're like taking pictures of me and shit. And like, I might get another charge for this. And I felt terrible about it. Like,
Yeah. But like, if you didn't do it, were you gonna get fucked up?
I mean, the whole story was this guy kept doing shit you're not allowed to do. Like pressing the button and asking the cops if it, and like he got told a bunch of times, and then they're like, "Hey, like you have to do like 100 burpees because you keep messing up. Like that's your punishment." And he basically said, "Fuck you. I'm not gonna do anything you fucking tell me."
Yeah.
And then he went and sat with the Paisa Mexicans, not the white guys. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he basically just did a big fuck you in front of everybody, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, dude, what are you doing? And
Yeah.
when I programmed, I was like, the only two other white guys who were going to be out at the time were me and this kid whose nickname was Skeletor. Like, he was 90 pounds, you know?
Yeah.
And they're signing to me, like, what's going on? I'm up in my cell, and I'm like reading, and I'm just like, fuck, like I'm 2 months from like just being out of here, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't really want to do it. It was Kyle who was telling him like he had to do this stuff, and he's just basically like, fuck you. He writes a note to the police saying this guy in cell 19 is trying to make me do things, and I'm afraid he's going to beat me up. Like, and the Mexicans get that note. So all the Mexicans we live with, all these fucking Oxnard gang member dudes, know that this guy just tried to tell the police something.
Yeah.
And it's basically like one of those situations, like we get him out of there like immediately, or it's going to be a problem between the white guys and the Mexicans. And there's 6 of us and like 38 of them. You know what I mean? And like, so, and I still tried to sneak this guy out. Like I went up, I'm like, bro, you need to get out of here like right now.
Get out of where?
The section.
Okay.
Like you go up with all your stuff and you hit the button and you're like, I don't feel safe here. You know what I mean? And they'll like take you out and like, I do that. He gets like all his stuff and he like goes to the door, and this is like a tense like time, you know what I mean, at this point. And I go to Kyle's cell and I'm like, hey, he's like, you told him to leave? I was like, yeah, I just told him to leave. He's like, good. And I was like, but also, by the way, he wrote a note to the police, like telling on you specifically. And Kyle's in a cell right now and I'm not, you know? And Kyle's like, go fuck that fool up. He's like, fuck him up. And I was just like, you know what? Okay. And I just turned around, walked over there and just hit this dude. And it was honestly like a sad fight. Like he was trying to like get away. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't even trying to like fight back. And afterwards I felt terrible about it.
Yeah.
Like and I was in there and left in a room in my boxers, and I'm like afraid I'm gonna get more time. Like this guy did get fucked up. He like hit his head. It was up to him if he wanted to press charges on me. Like it was, and I was just like, dude, what the fuck am I doing like with my life? Like this is all bullshit. Like, and I literally like prayed. Like I was like, dude, if you just like get me out of this and like get me like into a program, like I will stay sober. That was like my first like step 3. Like I was just like, I was just over this whole life. I was like, this is all fucking lame. I'm tired of like shitting in front of dudes and like just being in this whole lifestyle is just fucking lame as fuck.
Especially knowing where you came from and like you grew up with a good family and like what is available to you if you just lived like a straight and honest lifestyle.
Yeah, and even in there, like very few of those dudes are down to like fight one-on-one. Like in my experience, like they're always trying to jump like someone weaker. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a bunch of fucking like vultures, bro.
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys are all fucking pussies. And I didn't want anything they had to offer me, you know? And then I went to the hole. I was just in there reading books on Buddhism and shit and fucking, but after that moment, I really was like, I'm going to do the steps again. I'm going to get sober. I left there, went to a program called Recovery Ranch, which was fucking weird. And I got there and they all lined up in a straight line, like, welcome, brother, like hugging me. And I was just like, oh no, like where the fuck did I just show up
what
to?
kind of cult did I just walk into?
But they do pull-ups and like you telling everyone in the house, like hold each other account, like group one person where they just like, and I would see them shame kids like ruthlessly. Like it was fucked up there, dude.
Yeah.
But they did take us to like Yosemite and we like backpacked Yosemite. And after being in jail for so long, it was like dope.
Yeah.
They were really strict. I didn't get a phone. So it was like a good bridge for me. Before Oak Forest, I went to this crazy, really strict place. And I got a little exposure to like life, but I really feel like it was a good transition for me. Like if I just went straight from jail to Oak Forest, it would have been sketchier, you know? Because I still don't really know where I was at. But then I got to Oak Forest and...
what year did you get to Oak Forest?
2019.
Okay.
I think so that this is like I think like October, September 2019. So kind of a few months pre-COVID, you know? So I was there for a little bit before COVID and I was super grateful. I was like, I can eat. Like I hadn't had pizza in a year or ice in a drink. You know what I mean? Like there's like little things like soda. Hadn't had any soda. Just tons of stuff. I could have a cell phone. I could eat all this stuff. I could see girls even in public. You know, I was like, this place is dope. I asked Chris Jimenez to sponsor me, and he was supposed to be like the fucking hard ass, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A Godfather.
Yeah.
Type shit.
And I was one of the last people. I think I might be the last person that did the work with Jimenez before he got loaded again. So whatever he did with me with that step process was fucking dope. Like changed my life.
Yeah.
And he gave me a lot of good advice. For the first time, whatever this guy told me to do, I was willing to do it. Like I was like fucking this girl who was like crazy and like probably gonna relapse at any second. And he's like, you gotta stop this. And I did stop.
Yeah.
For the first time ever. Like in the past, I would just be like, yeah, might be a good idea, but no thanks. Like I like this and I won't give it up. But like whatever, like when he told me to like go work at this place, like whatever he told me to do, I just did it and my whole life changed, you know. When I made amends, he had me tell my mother, like promise my mother that I would never get loaded again. Which was like a gnarly thing to think about. And I don't even know if that's like the right way to do it. I don't make my guys do that. I don't like suggest people do it, but I did it. And so far I've never gotten loaded again, you know. That's like the most serious thing in my life right now probably is like that promise I made to my mother that I wouldn't like put her through this again. I feel like with that, like, and I just took it really seriously. It just came with me like taking the amends seriously and like being willing to do all the work that comes after a promise like that. Like keep sponsoring guys, keeps, you know, just staying on top of my stuff. So, you know, and then then I started working at Oak Forest, which was crazy. I mean, for me, being at Oak Forest during COVID, when everyone was isolated and alone and miserable, and it was like the time of my life. Like, we just went to the beach every day. I was with a bunch of guys who were fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But to me, it was fun.
Who was in that cohort at the time?
Dude, there was the Merricks. I don't know if you ever knew the Merricks. Like,
No.
James Merrick. Mitch was there at some point, I
Mitch?
think. Maybe.
Kagan?
Yep. No, he was there a little after
He
that.
was like a little after. He was like
But
2021.
Alex Conlian was there. Remember Alex and Austin?
Yeah.
They're all
Okay.
tatted up. They were
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Little
yeah.
Mikey. Did you guys know Little Mikey?
Mikey.
Short. He's Mexican, but he looks white. Always talking shit. He was there. Dimitri.
That kid Kyle
Doherty was there.
Doherty was there.
Kyle was
Strizinger.
there.
Yeah.
Chris Martinez.
Yeah.
That whole crew. Kyle. Yeah. Yep.
That is a good time.
That's a good time.
Nicky
that's,
Diamonds, the most infamous of them all, was
dude.
there.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Nicky Diamonds. What happened to that guy?
He's like living like in Beverly Hills at his parents'.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the beach house in Dana Point.
Yeah.
And I talked to him. He's been struggling a lot recently.
I see him from time to time. I meet him. Like,
Yeah, with like weight gain and depression and stuff. But
Yeah.
but I talk to him all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I started working there and just kind of, I don't know. My life got so much better that I just kept doing the things. You know, I was just like, my life's so chill now that
Yeah.
I'm like, why would I switch anything up?
Yeah. Exactly. You know, it's like I don't have how cops trying to build a case against me.
No.
I'm not shoving.
Have you seen any
heroin
of
up
those
my
cops
ass.
since?
No, I did an amends at the
Station.
sheriff's station, but I really wanted to talk to that cop specifically because
Nichols.
Yeah, Nichols.
Fucking Nichols. Hey, if you're watching this, Nichols.
Yeah, I might
Kevin
try
wants
again.
to talk to you.
I asked my PO for like his number or something, but they're like not allowed to like.
Okay.
Obviously,
Yeah, obviously.
makes sense,
It
but
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
something
Wait,
like that.
did you ever remember that kid? He was at our house maybe like 8 months ago. He was at Oak Forest first. He was like the bodybuilder kid that worked the insurance or the timeshare job with Michael Hernandez. He drove like a little Buick.
Oh,
Adam.
Adam, whatever happened to that
He
kid?
got arrested in London.
For like international like drugs.
Did you
Yeah,
hear
he's
about
doing time
that
in
too?
London.
But I don't know the details.
I don't know
but I
the
was just
detail.
Like, what the fuck
I-
do you mean?
I just
Like,
heard that story from Michael Hernandez, and I like tried to like research it myself. I couldn't find anything. And
He got like 2 years
yeah,
or something
I
like
was
that.
And like, is he just serving time in like British jail?
he's like in London prison right now.
like-
Adam's cool. I
Adam's
like
great.
that.
I like
yeah.
Adam.
I liked
yeah.
him, you know. He had like a 19-year-old girlfriend. He was 36 years old.
Yeah,
dude.
and she's like severely autistic. But
Oh my god.
he's like, this is great. Man.
yeah,
He's like,
living the dream.
My
Yeah.
parents are that far apart. I'm like, Jesus Christ. All right, dude.
Yeah.
Whatever you
I'm like,
say.
whatever you want, like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kid was funny.
But yeah, he was like doing good, and then it's like, oh yeah, Adam was arrested for international drug smuggling.
Just-
Like the next day.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
He moved out of our house. He was like pretty successful. He was staying sober. He was working a job. He was never really like motivated to do much with his life,
No.
but like he was staying sober. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he was like doing the bare minimum to like
Yeah.
get by. You know, and he would work this insurance job where he'd like make like $200 like every 2 days or something. Like they're like $300 a week or something. That was just enough to like
Yeah.
get him like keep him comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
Just enough.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what how real that story was because I heard it from Mike Hernandez.
Anything
you know?
from Hernandez is
You know?
taken with a very big grain of salt.
You
But,
know,
I mean,
who-
I've heard that's
I
what
heard
happened
that from someone else.
but I
think
don't know if
You
that's
heard
the
it from
truth.
me.
No, I heard that from Wes. This guy Wes. But because they were good friends.
Were you at the fucking were you at the house? Were you at Oak Forest with Harrison?
Yes. Yeah. Multiple times. I mean, I have a Harrison story that is fucking gnarly, dude. So this is recent. Within the past year,
Oh my gosh.
I get contacted by like a case manager, and has left his parents' house. He's being crazy. He's setting fires in his room. He's off his meds, doing meth. They're scared. And
Don't his parents own a treatment center too?
Yeah, his dad's a partner in one. They're scared. I get hired to go wait at their house for if it comes back. It is my job to try to get to a mental hospital. Why don't they just put him under a conservatorship already? I don't know if
the
parents are the real problem here.
Yeah.
I walk in this house. They sit me down very seriously and I'm like, hey, this is an addiction. This isn't mental health. This is demonic possession. This is what mom and dad are telling me. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay, like he's going by different names. You know what I mean? And they're super religious and into like, like they're deadly serious. Really trying to impress upon me that this is like beyond human aid, and this is like a spiritual matter. Like I might as well come back with an exorcist or something. And and I'm just like, okay, like in my head, I'm just like, it's probably meds, but you know. And so I'm waiting there in this big house in Bridle Path. Parents are like finally trying to get some sleep. They're terrified. They look crazy themselves, like, and it's just dark. And then we get a word that on his way back, you know. He walks in and I'm just like, what up? He's just like, oh shit, Kevin, what are you doing here? Like, just, you know, yeah, how you doing, man? Come on, let's go have a chat outside and smoke a cig. And I'm just like, and then I get word that this mental hospital, if I can just get him into the parking lot, they will put a hold on him. Like, that's the plan. And I get him to my car a couple times. I'm like, dude, let's just go for a fucking drive. Let's go check this place out. You don't have to stay. Like, I'm just manipulating the fuck out of him. But he knows. Like, he's not an idiot. He locks the door, tries to set a fire while I'm there. He's, like, burning, like, idols and is, like... But it's 100% not demonic possession. Like,
right.
He's fucking... Yeah. His parents are, like, thinking the meds are like... took him off his meds that were like helping him. He's a really sad case, dude, because he used to be very active. They put him on a bunch of meds that fixed his mental health and made him gain a ton of weight.
Yeah. You play basketball?
I played basketball with him the other day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like Wednesday.
Yeah. So he seems to be doing.
He has not round the clock, but like 8 hours a day. He has a companion. I did that for Tachi one night.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. But. Dude, it's just like having a conversation with him is so hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like he wants, it seems, to like connect, but also is incapable of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's not like
they just keep him locked in that house all day too.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Not taking meds, I think. And
no, when I was there, it was like we went to play basketball, and then he didn't want to do anything else. It wasn't like he was trapped there. If he was like, hey, let's go to the spot, he was allowed to, as long as I went with him.
Yeah.
You know, but we played basketball at noon, and then for 8 hours after that, we just sat there in a chair. I just sat in a chair. He played video games.
Listened to
music. Took a nap. Came back, and then went to sleep at like 8 o'clock. And I was just like, "This sucks." You know, like this is the worst. I mean, you know, and I feel so. Yeah, like for sure the parents, but like I also feel so bad for them. You know, I think it goes back to what you were saying of like you as parents, like they don't want to believe. You know, they don't want to believe that like their kid is like the way that he actually is. He is the way that like we perceive him, which is like mentally unstable. You know what I mean? In some sort of permanent psychosis from the drugs that he's done, from the hallucinogens that I think he like really overdid is what happened. Yeah. They just like totally fucked up his mental capacity to have any sort of like normal cognitive brain function longer than like maybe 45 minutes. Yeah. Maybe you get him for 45 minutes, but it's like lights go back off. Yeah. You know? Like that's,
Yeah.
but it's interesting when he's doing something that he enjoys, he's locked in. Like when we play basketball,
He's pretty dope at basketball.
He's great.
Yeah.
I was on a team with him.
Yeah.
And Tachi, you know, like he really like he takes it seriously. He like enjoys it, but it's still like that is the only thing going on in his head, you know? And then once that's taken out of the picture, it's just like all bets are off. Anything could happen.
When I was at Oak Forest with him, he was like getting close to like this kid could live a normal life.
Yeah.
Like he was on step 7 or 8 with RJ as his sponsor, and RJ was like all over him at that time, like super involved in everything he did. And we're like, holy shit, like Harrison like is turning a corner, and like and he relapsed one night, did meth, and I never saw him close to that ever again.
Yeah.
Like
So sad.
yeah.
So sad. You know, but that's that's the nature of this disease. It's the nature of addiction, you know, especially it's with mental health. It's like what came first, the chicken or the egg, you know? Is it the mental health that came first or the addiction? And a lot of times that addiction or that mental health is just kind of sitting there dormant, and then meth or whatever, even weed or shrooms or whatever, it just triggers it, and there's no coming back from it.
Yeah.
You know, I think his parents, honestly, like, I don't understand why they can't put a conservatorship on him and be like, look, this is like what he's doing. This is it.
Because once you do that, you basically like have kind of given up hope.
I mean,
And their hope is that their son lives a normal life.
yeah. I mean,
know?
yeah, of course, you know, and it's so hard to like let go of that hope and let go of that.
Because he's had those stints of like some sort of normalcy.
Yeah.
You know, like he was at another sober living in Newbury Park for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Right. And then one day they were playing basketball at Borchard, and he was like, you know what, I'm not really feeling it. I'm just going to walk home.
Oh, when he went missing.
And then he went missing.
Really?
Yeah, he went fucking missing for like 3 months, a month, longer.
I think it was like 45 days.
Yeah.
They eventually found him in
Sunland.
like, like
They
just
found him
some
walking down
random
the street.
city, walking around barefoot. Like
Jesus.
just,
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like,
I thought he was dead that time.
Yeah.
I was like, something happened.
Well, were you there for that kid, Jack, that was at Oak Forest?
Jack Seidman?
Jack Stein. He was there for
redhead
like
kid. His family owns Beta Shuva.
No, it's some other thing. But
I don't think I was there for him.
Jack
You know
Stein-
you
no,
were.
no,
You
were
were.
there. You were maybe not a client, but working there. He was like this kid. He was taller. He was a goofy ass kid. He's always going on TikTok live or Instagram live. He was just like drove out from Minnesota.
Oh, yes.
He's
You know who we're talking about?
He's a kid who went missing. He's gone. He's still missing. He's dead. But like, I'm sorry to his family.
Yeah.
But like, that's just the reality of the situation. You know. Or,
Yeah, I do remember
This kid.
I do remember seeing that kid that he just disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah. He just disappeared. He was at our house, and we were like, this kid has to go. He was like destroying shit, breaking stuff, running away constantly. And I like gave his parents, or his mom and sister came down, and I gave him some resources about like a mental health treatment center in Malibu. And he went to the mental health treatment center in Malibu. He was there for like 3 weeks, and then he just ran away into Canaan, and they never saw him again.
Well, what happened
Never.
before that is I got a call from one of his family members saying his grandfather had died. And they were like, can you please tell him? And I'm like, why do you want me to do this? In my head, I'm like, this
Maybe
is
we
not-
shouldn't tell him right now at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I said.
When
They were
he's
like,
very
no,
unstable?
like, yeah. And I was like, basically they were like, no, like we want this. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck, dude, like, all right, you know. And I told him in the garage, and he lost it, just lost it. And then that's when he was like going to the Jans at Gold's, a bunch
Yeah,
of shit.
running
And then
away,
you
yeah.
got him into that spot, and he went. It was like,
He was there for 3 weeks and then went missing. You know, just completely gone. Just ran away.
The amount of times I've seen parents like just give an excuse for someone to just blow it up. Like a lot of times they'll want to throw like how much something costs in the kid's face, and then they use that as their excuse to like, all right, well I'm leaving, or just anything.
It's insane. It's crazy.
So they've never found him, never saw him again.
Never found him, never saw him again. Nothing.
Damn, they put up billboards.
They put up billboard. Oh yeah, dude. I remember seeing these billboards in Venice. They were in Venice. They were all over. And
did he? I wonder if he just went off into the ocean, or he just
they sent out search team with dogs, helicopters combed the canyon. Apparently, the dogs were able to track him back to the freeway, and then lost the trail and never saw him again.
It's so bizarre.
Isn't that insane?
It's like what happens to him? You know, for them to just never find a body or never find
nothing.
anything.
Like you would think they found a body,
but that's what makes me think that he might still be alive and just like,
is he staying hidden on purpose?
Is he or like my thing is, did he get sex trafficked? Did he like get taken, abducted? Is he?
Yeah, I mean, he could be chained in some psycho's base.
Is he in like a different country? Like what the hell happened?
I know that must be so horrible for his family. We need to send
Liam Neeson after him.
Yeah. They just have no idea where he is.
Yeah, no idea, dude. But dude, I'm so happy that you were able to get sober and it's like it clicked for you, man. You know,
so am I.
It's a rare gift, and it's a a gift that a lot of people want, but they can't have because they're not doing it.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast, dude. Like, I love hearing your story. I didn't know all these details about your story. It was fun talking to you. And I appreciate you coming out here, man.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Of course.
That was rad.
Yeah, thank you, dude. I appreciate it, man. Of course. All right, and that's a wrap.